Welcome, everyone. I'm Mariquita Solis, the live stream host of all-creatures.org. All-creatures.org was founded in 1998 by Pastor Frank Hoffman and his first wife, Mary, and launched as a pioneer website in the United States for faith-based animal rights veganism. Today, Today, led by our executive director, Tams Nicholson, we exist for all people seeking current animal rights, vegan resources, and offer decades of free animal rights and vegan content, including a huge repository of vegan sermons, Bible commentaries, animal rights strategies, free vegan authored books, recipes, upcoming events around the world, and the works of various vegan authors, poets, and artists. We host current sites for almost 20 vegan and animal rights organizations, including Stop Crush, Unparalleled Suffering, and the Committee to Abolish Sports Hunting. We also maintain nearly 25 archival sites from animal rights vegan activism of past decades. The bottom line is that we work together to unite compassionate and empathetic humans across the globe from the past and the present who honor the dignity of each and every creature so that all beings thrive on a flourishing planet Earth. So today I'm excited to welcome Mary Finelli. Mary is the president of Fish Feel, the first organization focusing on promoting respect and compassion for fishes as sentient beings. Mary is a longtime animal rights activist with a BS in animal science. She's worked with various animal protection organizations, primarily focusing on farmed animals. Mary was also the producer of Farmed Animal Watch, a weekly online news digest sponsored by numerous animal protection organizations. She contributed a chapter to Vegan Voices and co wrote a chapter of In Defense of Animals, the Second Wave. So, welcome, Mary. I'm excited that you're joining me. I'm looking forward to this conversation for so long.
Well, thank you, Mariquita, very much for having me. And I might just mention that All Creatures, one of the archived websites they have is the Farmed Animal Watch archives.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm happy to hear that. Um, all y'all, whoever's watching, please let us know that you're watching and where you're watching from. And please be sure to hit like and subscribe because we're always having some great vegans on here that are changing the world. Also, put your questions in the chat for Mary. I have a billion questions for her, and I'm sure that you all will too. So if you're watching, please don't be shy. Let us know you're watching. So, Mary, I'd love to start out with knowing um, when did you become vegan and what caused you to make that transition?
Yes, well, I'd always cared about animals. All my life I've just been fascinated by animals and wanted to do whatever I could to help them, the most I could to help them. And it was about when I was about 15, I read a biography of Mahatma Gandhi and that he was a vegetarian. And also around that time, I read Diet for a Small Planet. And so I decided to go vegetarian. And then about 10 years later, I read Animal Liberation. And shortly after that, I went vegan. And actually, as you mentioned, I do have a chapter in the book, Vegan Voices, which is a terrific book put out by Lantern Publishing. And I explain in there in more detail about the transition.
Oh, nice. All right. So everybody get that book, Vegan Voices.
Great book.
And well, when you went vegan, Mary, did your family were they supportive or friends were they supportive of you?
Well, when I went vegetarian, surprisingly, my family was pretty supportive. My sisters joined me for a little while at it, and I grew up in a family where we ate a lot of meat and dairy and eggs and such. So it was unusual, but surprisingly, they were supportive of it. And then when I was older and went vegan, by that time I was involved in animal rights, and I actually moved down to Washington D.C. in the mid 1980s to volunteer and work with animal rights organizations. So there was a community of animal rights activists here. So that was a great way to get support in that regard.
Ah, wonderful. So now what's your family and friends? Are they do, do they eat fish? A lot of them.
My family, yes, unfortunately. Some of them have cut back, and but no, they still do eat animal products. Some of them have, kind of played with vegetarianism, but unfortunately, they're like most people. And well, actually, I've had more success with my nieces and nephews. They are more open to it. So yeah, so that's been. I think the younger generation is more open to it. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. You're right. I mean, I think about the open minded. I mean, once we're trapped in these patterns, it's hard to break out sometimes.
it really is. Yeah, such a bad habit.
Yes, and we're just cut off from other beings, sentient beings. So, yes. So, how does the peace of not eating creatures manifest in your life today?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
How does the peace of not eating creatures manifest in your life today?
Well, I mean, I would as with most vegans, my only regret is that I didn't become vegan sooner, and looking back with such regret. But I'm glad I did learn about it as soon as I did, and glad I was able to make that transition, and that there was so much support out there. And now, back then, there was like such limited vegan options, um, comparatively to now, there are vegan versions of virtually anything you can imagine, including vegan seafood. And in fact, there are a couple of vegan seafood cookbooks, specifically vegan seafood cookbooks. There's this one put out by the Vegetarian Resource Group, which is a terrific book, and also the Gentle Sea Cookbook, which is available online. And they're just terrific books. And on our website, fishfield.org, we have a seafood section that has hundreds of recipes and links to companies that make vegan seafood products. So anything people have a hankering for, there's a vegan version. It's better for us, better for the other animals, and better for the environment.
Yes, we all win when we eat compassionately.
And can I also say, Marquita, of course, veganism isn't solely about diet. It's also about our relationship with our fellow animals, and so it gives you just a such a sense of peace. And when you see our fellow animal species as fellow beings rather than um, objects to be or objects to be used and abused, it just gives you such an appreciation of them, and you get such pleasure just from watching them and seeing them enjoying life, and you just develop so much more empathy.
That's for sure. Connecting to other beings is so important, and realizing and recognizing about the use and exploitation of other beings, not
Yeah,
just on the plate.
I actually feel bad for people who don't see our fellow species, animal species, as perceptive individuals, because they're just missing out on such beauty and enjoyment and wonder of life.
You're
Yeah.
right. It's elevated an awareness. So definitely, and I see that Kenneth is here from Kenya, and we've got Jeannie, Messy Vegans from Colorado, and Nicole is here from Montreal, and JJ, and she is in Maryland, and I was just telling you about her in Ocean City. So, and Mary's in Maryland. So, all right, thanks for joining us, y'all. And let me ask you this, Mary, what has been your most memorable experience of your vegan lifestyle?
Oh, wow. That's such a question. I mean, there have been so many. I think, just being able to advocate for animals in general. I've met so many wonderful people. The best people that I've ever met are vegan advocates, animal rights advocates, just terrific people. And it's just been so fulfilling. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to advocate for them.
Yes, and that's a wonderful answer. The whole experience
It really is. Yeah.
it's powerful. And I see Claudia has joined us from California. Thanks for joining us. So a lot of times when people go vegan, shift to a vegan lifestyle, they become discouraged and depressed. And kind of what advice would you give someone that's struggling right now when they wake up to this and they see that people don't want to hear about it?
Yeah, it is it is really difficult. That's the hardest part about being vegan is other people's realizing what other people feel towards most other people feel towards animals. And I see a lot of posts on Facebook, for example, It seems especially people who are out in more remote areas, they feel so alone and they're just not getting that support. So, so being online is a great way to find fellow vegans and fellow animal rights activists. And there are organizations throughout the country and throughout the world. And even if you're working remotely with them, you still can be very active. And, just knowing that the animals you're helping are so desperately need our help, and all you can do to help them, and it's just there's so many resources out there and so many ways to get involved. So I think when you're helping somebody else, it really helps you in so many ways. So that's the best thing to do. And try to encourage your family and friends. I know it can be very difficult and very disappointing, but just know that trying, that's all we really can do. So just try your best and be glad that you're doing your best just by trying, regardless of the results. Just that's all you can really do is try, and that's a very empowering thing.
Yeah, that's great advice. So, Mary, and one thing, if you're feeling sad and not connected, I know you need volunteers at Fishfield. Can you tell us about Fishfield?
Sure. We started the organization about 10 years ago. I had been I had been doing animal rights advocacy for since the 1980s, mainly focusing on farmed animals. And I too was guilty of largely ignoring fish concerns. Um, and it dawned on me that the way to really help the greatest number of animals at the time was by advocating for fishes. So that's why we started the organization. And we're an all volunteer organization based out of Maryland, but we have volunteers throughout the world, really, thankfully. And if you go to our website, we have a lot of information there. We have fact sheets, and we have a artistic advocacy page, people with their artwork. These are two posters by an artist in New York, Irene Impolito, and she's done so many wonderful, amazing animal rights posters, and she let us have these and quite a few others, thankfully. And we have a poetry page. If you do poetry, tattoos, we have tattoos on there. We also have the vegan seafood pages. Um, and we also have a page called Your Page, where people explain how they came to care and respect fishes. So people can, let us know that. We'd love to post that, and also on our Facebook page. And people love to read those. It includes a lot of people who did fish and realized how cruel that was, and how they became vegan advocates, upon that realization. So, and then there's other ways to get involved. In fact, there's World Day for the End of Fishing is one event. It's a global event coming up at the end of March, March 29th. And if you just Google World Day for the End of Fishing, you can see how to get involved. And they have a page with a lot of resources on. So there's so many ways you can get involved, and just encouraging other people to try vegan seafood options, to let them know how cruel the fishing industry is and how harmful eating fish and other aquatic animals and animals in general, animal products, is bad for our own health, and also so bad for the environment. So, like I said, there are wonderful vegan versions of virtually any kind of seafood, any kind of food, any kind of seafood you can imagine. They're better for us. They're readily available now. We have hundreds of recipes. You can make your own. They're healthful, delicious, and it's also a great way to help the environment.
Definitely. We've got to help the environment, and we'll be talking about that also. So, what what is your what is the mission of Fish Feel? What would you say? And the vision?
Largely, thank you. At this point, there's so many people who don't realize that fishes are sentient beings. So many people that don't understand that they can feel, or deny that they can feel. And there's so much scientific evidence out there, scientific proof showing that they are sentient beings. And we have a fact sheet all about it on our website. They have complex nervous systems. They have pain receptors. They create their own opioid painkillers. They quickly learn to avoid painful stimuli. All the signs that would cause you to think an animal is suffering, they have. And they also can suffer distress, which is reason enough not to cause them needless harm. So we have all this information on our website, and uh, we'd love for people to get involved, help fishes and other animals in every way they can.
Yes, and how how can how can we? how can we take a stand for fishes? I
Sure.
mean, I guess we
Well,
need to go to the website and check out all your information and be a better voice, but what else can we do?
that's a great way. We have fact sheets on there, human health fact sheet, fish sentience fact sheet, environmental fact sheets. You can get further educated. A great way to help animals is to, learn about them. There's a book, Do Fish Feel Pain, by Victoria Braithwaite. She was professor of science of fisheries at Penn State University, and she very eloquently explains the scientific basis for fish sentience. There's a more recent book by Jonathan Balcom, What a Fish Knows. It's a wonderful book all about what fish know, and they know a lot, just how intelligent and perceptive and really amazing fishes are. It's a terrific book. Um, and uh, and then for children, we also have on our website books for children and videos and all. Here's a book that actually my husband wrote. It's his fourth children's book, An Underwater Friend, about a little boy who's so excited to go fishing with his father. And they go fishing and they catch a fish. And then he realizes that it's caused the fish to suffer. So they take the fish home. Fortunately, they happen to have a backyard pond. So they help the fish recuperate and then they release the fish back into the wild. And Jonathan, who wrote What a Fish Knows, he also has a children's book, Jake and Ava, about a little boy and his relationship with the fish. Also a wonderful book. So that's great ways to get children involved. Um, we have coloring books for children we have a whole page, a kids page on the website, puzzles and coloring book and videos and other things. So, get children to realize that fish are sentient beings too, that, deserve our respecting, compassion, and moral consideration.
Yes, they definitely do. And I was very disconnected as a child. I didn't, and as an adult. So this is a wonderful conversation. And I did interview Jonathan Balcombe, you were just referring to. He's just an amazing man, and what a great voice for our animals. And I have that book, What a Fish Knows.
Good, good. I hope you'll read it if you haven't already, because it really is a
Yeah,
treasury of information.
I recently got it and I'm reading it slowly. And it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to read because I feel so sad reading it. But then there's a lot of inspiration in there. I mean, I have to get past the sadness to take action, and then, yeah, it's fish are in a different category, I think. And it's like so far away from us. And I think it probably from reading his book, I mean, or having the conversation with him, I kind of realized is that since they look so different and they're in the, like you were saying, like in the living in water, it's so, I mean, it's just so far away from the way we live that it's easy to just cast them aside as, not even, I mean, they're just whatever they are, they're not even, they don't deserve consideration, which is sickening.
Yeah, sort of out of sight, out of mind. But I would say that the book What a Fish Knows, it's mostly very uplifting information to let you know just how amazing these animals are, which is also a great way to let people know um, you know, there's so many wonderful videos. Almost every day on our Facebook page, we're posting videos that so many people are these people go diving like every day, and every day I'm finding marvelous videos and photos of fishes and other aquatic animals and their interactions, and that's a great way too, so people, realize how wonderful these beings are, and why we should care and help protect them.
Right. Yes, you're right. It is a very positive book. Sometimes I just feel sad that why can't why can't the world feel like this? You know.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's okay because you. I mean, everyone is making a difference. So, tell me about your organization. How has it grown over time?
Yes. Okay. Well, we started out really what we try to do mainly is public education, because really at this point, as I said, so many people just don't even realize that fishes can feel. I mean, it's such a basic thing, and why someone wouldn't understand that, I don't know. But well, I do know. It's really social conditioning. We see, like, you may remember these old Star-Kissed tuna commercials where the Charlie tuna, he wants to be caught. It's like so many of these animal industries, they criticize us for anthropomorphizing, but that's what they do, as if these animals want to be used and abused. It's just so obscene, really, is what it is, and so deceptive to the public, because people, they just go along with this storybook mentality that animals want to be used, and that they're living these happy lives, and that eating them and using them in other ways is just a fine thing, a natural thing to do. But so we're really, starting at a very basic point, mainly trying to educate the public about these animals, what they're like, how wonderful they are, the problems that they face that also are harming humans and other animals, and how we can help them. So we do a lot of outreach events. We, like I said, on our Facebook page, we're posting almost every day news and videos and information about them, and action alerts, also ways that people can help fishes. And uh, we go to a lot of outreach events. There's something you and I were discussing a little earlier before the show called youth fishing rodeos, where all across the country, the government, Fish and Wildlife agencies and police departments and other entities are encouraging children to go fishing. And they give them free fishing gear, and they give them prizes for who catches the biggest fish or most fish. They're really encouraging children to go fishing. And what they're really doing is encouraging children to torture and kill animals for fun. It's just such a problematic way to have children think about animals, as if they're there to use and abuse at will for our pleasure. So it's a really big problem. And again, they have them all across the country. And we go to ones locally here, and we hand out coloring books and fact sheets, and just let people know that, this is a cruel activity. It's not a sport. These animals are not willing participants. It's blatant animal abuse, you know. So trying to get through to children, like I said, with my nephews and nieces, I had a lot more success than with my siblings. And getting through to children is so important, humane education. So, we do a lot of outreach in that way. And again, like World Day for the End of Fishing is coming up at the end of March. This is like, I think the fifth year for it. It's an international event. And we go to the National Aquarium in Baltimore and hand out coloring books and fact sheets and, talk to people. So, just try to get through to people, because people, once they know, they care. There's that wonderful documentary Seaspiracy, all about how horrible the fishing industry is, and that was wildly popular on Netflix, and that turned a lot of people on to realizing what's going on. And there was a Blue Planet, or a couple of BBC programs with David Attenborough, just showing how amazing aquatic animals are. And My Octopus Teacher was another one that got people understanding about octopuses, and now they're trying to factory farm octopuses, and what a big problem that is. Fortunately, that's getting a lot of blowback. A lot of scientists are opposing it for very good reasons too. So try to nip that in the bud. And unfortunately, we're having success with that. And also some success with fish farming, which is another huge problem. It just was banned in Washington State, and it's also been banned all across the whole U.S. West Coast, and also west coast of Canada and Alaska. So there people are realizing the problems with fish farming. It's so cruel. They're packing these animals into um, confined spaces, keeping them in very unnatural environments. They are crawling with sea lice, which are parasitizing them, which they can also transmit to the wild fish. They are also, these confined spaces are full of dead fish and uneaten food, so that all this goes down to the bottom and creates a dead zone underneath, and they can spread diseases to the wild fish. They can escape and outcompete the wild fish, or possibly even interbreed with them, and mess up the genetics. So it's a huge problem, fish farming, which people are pointing to as a solution to overfishing, but it's actually a huge part of the problem of overfishing, because most of these fishes are carnivorous fishes. So they're catching wild caught. Most of the wild caught fishes, by number, not by weight per se, but by number, are used to create fish meal and fish oil, most of which is going to feed farmed fishes, farmed shrimps, and other farmed animals. So it's a huge part of the problem.
Gosh, you're right. I was just thinking so many things when you were talking about that. I would think so. I was listening to Captain Paul Watson, and I think he said that pigs eat more fish than we do, and I thought, oh my gosh! But of course, that would make sense. Factory farm pigs would eat more. It's just highly disturbing, all of this, and the fact that this throwing back fish. I go to the park, and one of the little parks around here in Atlanta, and sit by the pond, and I see just all the fishing line in the trees, And I just feel sick when I see people fishing, and I don't know what to do. I mean, they think, oh, well, it's okay because, well, I'll throw them back and they'll be fine. But you tell us about that. What would you
Yeah.
tell if someone was asking, like, why should I not do this? What would you say?
Well, because fish are sentient, they can feel pain and they can also feel distress, and that should be so glaringly apparent by their behavior. They're desperately trying to get away, gasping for breath. It's basically you're suffocating them. You are suffocating them. First off, you're impaling them and hauling them through the water by their weight, and by putting that hole in their mouth or catching by the gill or whatever. A lot of fish, the way they eat is by sucking in food, and if you're putting a hole in their mouth, you're impairing that ability to do that. So even if you throw them back, they may not be able to eat very well for some time after. And you're also suffocating them, which of course hurts them. And then manhandling them, they have a protective coating, fishes do. And if you touch that, it takes off that protective coating, and that's taking away their immunity. So just because you throw them back doesn't mean that they're going to survive. Many do not, and they all suffer immensely from it.
Oh, and I see, yes, I saw, like you're saying, an advertisement to empower your young girl, take them, on this fishing thing. And I just felt disgusted by that,
It is
teaching them how to
disgusting.
kill. Mm.
Yeah. I mean, how are you empowering someone by encouraging them to harm someone, more vulnerable than they are?
Gosh, no, I know. I have no idea how people can even come to that.
Or
If
why they would think it's sport. These animals are not willing participants. They're victims. They're not willing participants. There's nothing sporting about it. It's blatant animal cruelty. And if you're doing it because you don't need to do it just for the fun of it's blatant animal abuse.
Right. And what are the laws regarding fish? How is it coming? I mean, are we getting more laws to protect our fishes?
Here in the U.S., there's really, aside from conservation laws, there are really no welfare laws protecting fishes. There's no laws about regarding their welfare, how they're kept. They're exempt from the Humane Slaughter Act. They're exempt from the Animal Welfare Act. They're exempted from a lot of state anti-cruelty acts. A lot of these laws don't even recognize fishes as animals. Here in the U.S., there's a dearth of legal protection for fishes. There's more so in the UK, but even there, the laws are so vague and so unenforced. They've done investigations of some of these fish farms over in the UK and found, even though they do have welfare regulations for the fishes there, in Scotland, for example, they're finding all kinds of horrific cruelties happening in these farms. They're not being regulated, and you can imagine how hard it would be to regulate at sea fishing. Who's going to be regulating that, where there are all kinds of human rights abuses, because they're catching so many fishes that the fish populations are crashing. They've they maxed out at the fishing populations in the 1996, I believe it was, and ever since the catch amount is going down because there are fewer and fewer fishes, which means these ships have to go further and further out using more and more fuel to get out there, and also to keep the fish frozen until they can get back. And so it's costing them more and more. So to try to cut corners, they're doing it through human labor abuses. They're having people go out there. They're tricking a lot of guys to go out there to go fishing. And once they're out there, they're really at the will or lack of mercy of these captains. And there's all kinds of horrific human rights abuses being documented, people being kept at sea for years, people being physically abused, sexually abused, even murder. The Associated Press did a expose on it and found that they have these huge ships that can actually stay at sea for months or even a year or more, and have supply ships come and bring them supplies and take the catch back. So these ships can stay out there for years. And when they found that when this one ship was coming back in, they were actually taking the crew to an island and literally putting them in cages until they could come back and pick them up and go back out again. It's just horrific human rights abuses. And a lot of that catch is being sold here. It's some of it's not being regulated. A lot of the catches mislabeled. It's just a huge problem. There are these certification schemes, but most of them don't include welfare concerns, and they're they're finding some of the. Actually, I'd like to read you a quote. One called "Make Stewardship Count Coalition," and this quote off their website. The Marine Stewardship Council label, which millions of consumers rely on for trusted seafood, is increasingly being awarded to fisheries that routinely catch thousands of vulnerable animals, waste excessive amounts of sea life, inversibly, irreversibly damage our ecosystem, and catch overfished species. They're certifying such fishing techniques as trawling, which where you just take a net and drag it across the sea bottom, catching whoever happens to be there, ruining coral that can take thousands of years to grow. So it's and they're certifying that as sustainable. It's just it's green, it's blue washing, is what it is. There's
Yeah.
no human fishing, there's no humane fish farming, and we don't need to be eating these animals. It's not good for us either. They have mercury, dioxins, microplastics, parasites, cholesterol, saturated fat. It's definitely not a healthful food. All the nutrients that we get from fish and from animals in general, we can get from plant sources. Again, for people who like fish or vegan versions, virtually any kind of seafood you can imagine. Fish oil is another thing. A huge number of fish are caught for the fish oil industry. And fish oil, again, also is not good for us. It can easily go rancid, and if it does, it can create free radicals, which are potentially carcinogenic. If you're taking fish oil in like a gelatin capsule, you may not even know it's gone bad. So you're taking this product that not even isn't really helping you, but is harmful to you. A great way to get omegas, which is why a lot of people eat fish or take fish oil supplements. You can get it through vegan sources, including walnuts, flaxseed oil, flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds. If you really want a concentrated dose, there are vegan omega supplements, so you can get your omegas that way. So no need to harm these animals or yourself or the environment when you can get all the nutrients you need from these wonderful vegan sources.
Yes, and I remember talking with Dr. Lisa Kimmelmer, and she was saying I think 14 pounds of bycatch, but there was another word besides bycatch for each 1 pound of shrimp. So, like for 1 pound of shrimp, all this 14 pounds of other, and it's not just fish, but sea turtles and the birds getting caught in the line in these giant lines,
Right, there's
and awful.
bycatch and discards. Bycatch are all the animals that they're catching. Hundreds of thousands of turtles, hundreds of thousands of birds, countless other fishes. Suppose they are species that they're not trying to catch, or if they've already met their quota for that species, these are animals that they, are supposed to throw back. They maybe will keep it and use them as fertilizer or something, or throw these animals back dead and dying. It's just massacring wildlife on a global scale, and that's why these populations are crashing.
Yes, and you were saying so. Yes, and then I didn't ever really think about, but when they drag those, they're just. I know they just kill, but I didn't. I mean, they're just killing everything in the wake. But I never didn't think about how long it's taken, Mother Earth to have, that growth there, and it's just destroyed like that, which is highly disturbing. So, what about the you were saying about the warming earlier when we were talking about the warming of the oceans?
Yes, climate change, it really hits the oceans first. They're absorbing, they're a huge carbon sink, so they're absorbing all this carbon. And with climate change, it's warming the oceans, it's reducing the amount of carbon, of oxygen that they can hold. So that's harmful also to these aquatic animals. And they're actually showing that fishes are, not only are there fewer, but they're becoming smaller because their bodies just can't get the scientists think it's because they can't get their oxygen needs, so their bodies are actually literally getting smaller over time. They're also trying to catch the biggest fish, and these fish, they pass knowledge from generation to generation, like the best migratory routes or the best feeding grounds. And when you're taking away the oldest, most knowledgeable fishes, you're impeding that cultural ability of these species, these populations, to get by. So it's just um, you know just a disaster, a catastrophic level.
It is definitely, and then the poor penguins and other animals that need the fishes, and I know they're indigenous people that's their only food.
That's right. And these ships, these industries are fishing. Seaspiracy had this showed this very well, that China and other and European fishing fleets are going like off the west coast of Africa and catching fish where people really need those fish to, as a matter of survival, and they're taking them and processing a lot of them into fish meal. Most of them are getting processed into fish meal for animal feed, and also selling a lot of that catch to the U.S., to Europe, and places where people don't need that, don't need to be eating fish to survive, and shouldn't be eating fish to survive for their own well-being.
Right, and the dead, and it's creating dead zones. Is and these all these dead fishes.
Well, with fish farming, and the containment, because of all the dead animals and the decomposing food, all these pollutants are going and causing dead zones underneath the fish farms. So there's that. Yes, yeah.
Yes, I mean it's so complex. I mean it's very complicated, but it's so simple if you think about it. I mean we're, I mean holding these prisoners, these prison systems of fishes, thinking that we're doing a service, and how how much, I mean how much depletion is there? I mean I know overfishing. I mean what can we do to turn this around?
Yeah. Well, the according to the planetary index, which they put out every year, fishing since the 1970s, marine life populations have been halved. So you can see just how they're plummeting. And like I said, the global catch peaked in 1996, I believe, and has been decreasing every year since then, just because the fishes aren't there for them to catch. And as far as like large predatory fishes like sharks and tunas and cod and groupers, their populations have gone down by up to 90%. So it's just a huge wiping out of the fishes. Migratory freshwater fish populations have gone down 76%. It's just they're really crashing.
Yes, and in general, animal agriculture, I mean, it's just killing our environment. All that waste is going into the oceans from the factory farms. The factory farms don't have sewage systems, so it just dumps into our planet, into the rivers, into the water. And I
There's
mean,
that, right? And Mariquita, all the crops that they're growing to feed these farmed animals, and all the fertilizer they're putting on that, and all the runoff into the lakes and streams and rivers, that all ends up in the oceans. So yes, it's a huge source of pollution.
it's so sad, yes. And it takes courage to be able to talk about this and to do what you're doing, Mary. So, and especially about fishes, because people are just, they think whatever. But so, what if somebody would like to have they don't want to contribute by buying a fish at the pet store? How could they get a fish if they wanted to have one and build a relationship, because you have relationship with your fishes? Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I don't really have. I had fishes as a child.
Uh-huh.
I don't have any now. But if people do want fishes for companions, and thank you for bringing that up, because the aquarium fish industry, again, they're also taking animals from the wild, and there's a wonderful documentary about that, the dark hobby, about how problematic that is. And also captive bred fishes. That industry is also rife with a lot of suffering and death. Very few tropical fishes can be raised in captivity, so most of those are coming in from the wild, further depleting those populations. And again, these industries are not doing it for the interest of the fishes. It's all about profit for them. So these animals are disposable for them. If they die, that's just part of the business plan. A huge mortality. But for people who do want to have fishes as companion animals, and if you can provide a decent home for them, and there's a lot of information online about how to go about doing that, you can please go to an animal shelter. A lot of animal shelters have fishes for adoption. There are fish rescue groups, or you can go online to like Craigslist or something like that and find someone who's looking to rehome fishes for free. But please don't don't support the cruel fish industry, aquarium fish industry.
Yes, please don't. I'm so sickened when I go into pet stores. It's very hard, but This is why we're doing this, so we can get this information out that fishes do have personalities, and they have feelings, and of course it hurts them if we take them out of. I mean, what if we were dunked down and dragged by our bodies, by our mouths in the water? Of course we would feel pain. It's incredible that we're not looking at that, or some of us are, but not the majority of us.
Yeah. I mean, instead of looking at the differences we have, people should consider the similarities, how similar we are to fishes. We're all evolved from a common ancestor, and so many of our abilities are shared with fishes. So, consider the similarities more so than the differences, because there's a
Right.
lot more of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and what would be some surprising similarities that people might not know about, Mary?
Well, of course, fish sentience that they are can feel they can quickly learn. They learn by watching others. They've been shown to be able to, well, they have courting rituals and mating rituals. And um, there's actually a book called Your Inner Fish, all about how similar we are with fishes, the similarities between us, and how we did to share this common ancestor, and so many of our abilities developed first in fishes.
Wow. Well, that's something that we need to know. And then I saw that video about, I mean, the similarities and how we do share many things in common. But when I saw that little video of the fish driving the little car, I mean, it made me recognize. I mean, now of course it's not like a car that we have, but a car developed for the fish really made me think twice. Like, wow, I never would have thought that I would ever see this. That I would never have thought that fish would have the capacity to do that. But that's only my limited thinking and my, not being educated enough to investigate that. And so I feel like it's something we
Well,
need to share.
yeah, I mean, it is kind of odd. It's if I think we're talking the same thing. It was like an aquarium on wheels, and the fish somehow they had it able so that the fish could navigate which way that it went, and that just goes to show they, of course, can see things, they can sense things, they can, and they were able to actually use these controls to steer the tank on wheels. Um, but they can figure out puzzles. They can be tricked by optical illusions, just like we can. They have same. They have vision. They have hearing. They have very sensitive. They have something called a lateral line that runs along their body, which enables them to detect very minute changes in water pressure. That's how they're able to do these amazing synchronizations of a shoal or school of fishes, just like you see birds doing this murmurations, how they're all flying in the same formation. Fishes do the same thing, but underwater. So, yeah, amazing.
That is amazing, and that's cooperation, right? They're all working together, and it's so natural. I wish that we could do that. We can learn a lot from them,
So much.
definitely. So I'm going to look at some of the comments that we have here. And Messy Vegans is saying, I loved what a fish knows, and great point about anthropomorphism. Um, and April Sky is saying, thank you for covering the deception. Um, And here's a question. So get your questions up here. Nicole is saying, I'm listening to Quarks and Quirks, and there's a cute story about Monza dog who discovered a new truffle fungus. She's in the paper describing the mushroom. Could this be used as a case for animal personhood?
I haven't seen the paper, but possibly so. And it's so important to establish personhood for animals so that they will have legal rights. That's how they can obtain legal rights. And there are entities that are working to do that. Um, and they do have personalities, so they are persons. They have interests, they have concerns, so they are sentient. So they certainly have personhood, and they deserve legal protection, which is really what they need.
Amen to that. And I have seen some countries stepping up for that, for animals in that aspect. So,
Yes. Yes. For example, in the UK, fishes are recognized as sentient by law, as are crustaceans now, more recently crustaceans also. And that's what we need here is legal protection. Again, fishes and other aquatic animals, so many other aquatic animals, don't have any legal protections to speak of here in the U.S. So that's what they need.
Yes, you're right. So April's saying, thank you for giving kids the truth and an alternative. Don't ever stop. I had a traumatic fishing experience as a child. They tried to teach me to think what happened was funny. It is not. You're right.
Yeah.
It is not. And I mean, this is beautiful when we're able to see things in a different light.
And
Um,
April, if you'd like to share that with us, we'd love to share your experience, post it on our website in the Your Page section and also share it on our Facebook page. And you can send it to info@fishfield.org. And we'd love to share that experience you had with others.
yes, that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that, Mary, because I'm sure a lot of us have had that experience. All right, let me see what else we got here. And
I
April's is,
see I
mhm,
see
go ahead.
one, Marakita, about referring to fishes. And um, the reason I say fishes is because, for one thing, it is a scientific term for when you're discussing more than one species of fish, but also to indicate that they are unique individuals, each with their own personality. And so increasingly that term is being used in reference to fishes.
Mm. All right, now I'm looking for more questions, and then we answered this. Are you against eating fish or fishing for fun?
Yes, unequivocally.
Right, we're against it. It's not fun for the fish.
Right.
Right. All right, now here's another one. How do I feed my 21 rescued cats? My cats are very loving. Some don't like to hunt, and one won't eat wet food, treats, or any animal flesh. I think Baby is a vegetarian. She is gentle.
Well, they are coming out with, there actually is now commercial vegan cat food available. If you go online, you can find that. And studies are showing increasingly that they they can get all the nutrients they need from the vegan commercial vegan cat food. But really, a good thing to do is go online and look. There's a lot of information about it online.
Yes, I mean, things are coming out. It just, for the cat food, you just have to be very careful, but it can be done. I remember
Yeah.
listening to a vet talking about that. So,
And
like,
even if you're concerned, something you should maybe do half and half at least. Just cutting back at least.
yeah, that is very true. All right, let's see here. Here we go. Great point about similarities. Thanks. However, there are entitled personalities. How do we reply to them?
Well, I think the thing you need to do is just explain to them the basis for fish sentience, that they do have complex nervous systems, they do have pain receptors, they do create their own painkillers, they have personalities, they can um, they can find pleasure in life, they can find pain in life. They're just like us, they have interests and concerns, and they're just as deserving of our respect and compassion and moral consideration as any other sentient beings.
Amen to that. Yes. Let's see here. April Sky is arguing AI on the meaning of personhood, so that's good. She's winning. And here
Thank
we
you.
go. Another one from Messy Vegans. Tell me about shrimp. Where can I find good resources that discuss their sentience?
Okay. There is an organization, Crustacean Compassion. If you go online, you can find them. And they're really focusing on lobsters now, trying to prevent lobsters from being boiled alive, that type of thing. But I believe they also have information on their website about shrimp sentience. And if you write to us, info@fishfield.org, I can send you information on fish sentience too, shrimp sentience too.
Shrimp sentience, yes.
Yeah,
So,
there have been scientific studies showing that, like for example, if they're exposed to electric shocks, they behave in a way that indicates that they're suffering from that. And shrimps have all kind of horrible things done to them. First off, they have one of the highest bycatch rates, shrimp fishing. So when they're catching shrimp, they're catching so many other, just massive amounts of other animals with them. And of course, they suffer too from being hauled out of the water and suffocated and killed. Um, and also, for shrimp farming, one of the things they do is they cut off the female shrimp's eye stalks to cause them to reproduce more. For some reason, it changes their reproduction. And you can just imagine they're doing that, of course, without anesthesia or anything, just cutting off their eye stalks. It's just a horrific thing to do. And, you know, the whole process is just so incredibly inhumane of shrimp farming also. So it's actually the most popular seafood. Shrimp is in the US, and it's, you know, just as cruel as fishing and fish farming.
Gosh, it is. Yes, it's incredible that people
And
don't. They're not aware.
right. And shrimps are very high in cholesterol and, you know, all other toxins. So it's not, again, it's also not a healthful food to be eating.
Right. All right, and keep your questions coming if you have any. And so, how do people find out about you? I want to cover this again, Mary. If they want to, what kind of volunteers do you need?
Well, we really like people to, you know, help educate people. They can really do this very independently on their own. Please visit our website, fishfield.org. There's lots of resources on there. And, you know, we really need everybody out there educating their friends and their family and their coworkers and other associates and the public. You know, find the information. You don't have to know a great deal, just know the basics. You know, we have fact sheets that really hit the basics on fish sentience and human health and the environment, those various other issues. So learn the basics. And also we have one called Fish Are Fantastic, just about how amazing fishes are. Learn the basics and then help educate others. You know, on our Facebook page, almost every day we're posting news and information. It would be great if people share those things. World Day for the End of Fishing is coming up at the end of March. You can do an event with an organization or on your own. You know, just have somebody over for a vegan seafood dinner, or give somebody a vegan seafood cookbook for a gift. You can even go chalking just with fish messages. You know, hand out literature. If you in all of our mail, put in like a little informational thing, a flyer or a fact sheet or something for all your outgoing mail. Even, you know, bills. Who knows who's reading all these things? There's stickers you can put on. We have fish feel T-shirts. I'm wearing one right now, but I can show you what that looks. Fish feel, just to get that message across. Fish feel. You know, it's amazing how much denial there is out there. Every day we're debating with people about this, and there's so much scientific proof. It's willful ignorance, really, to deny that fishes can feel. And on the back we have our logo. We have those available. So, you know, again, the books make wonderful gifts. What a Fish Knows, the children's books. We have free coloring books you can print out from our website. You know, there's just so many things. Again, if you send us your experiences with fishes, how you came to respect and care about them, we'd love to post that, share that with other people. People love to read those things, those stories, those accounts. So, you know, there's just so many ways to get involved, and we really, really hope people will. And if there's anything specific people want to do, there's all kind of petitions available and such. You know, please write to us. We'd be more than happy to try to get you to your specific interest.
Yeah, there is so much that can be done, and I did some protests with Georgia Animal Rights and Protection, and we were at the aquarium, and I'm happy to say that one lady came with her grandson, and they were going to the aquarium, but they stopped and they looked at our information, and then they joined us. So
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah, that's really great.
yes, that was wonderful. And you're right. I mean, people don't know, they don't realize where the animals have come from in these aquariums and these places, and that they're stressed out in those places from being taken from their natural home.
Yes. In fact, right now there's a place called Sequest that's on the verge of possibly going bankrupt right now, and they're trying to shut down these locations. And you know, they've obtained animals in very problematic ways, and they just have terrible animal welfare record. So you know, hopefully that will get closed down. If they do, they're actually trying to find homes for these animals, which is of course going to be very difficult to do if they can obtain the animals and send them to sanctuaries or you know, so there's such a variety of species. So hopefully we'll be able, if we can obtain these, we'll find homes for them. But Sequest is a great example of, you know, the harms of going to see these animals as entertainment in public aquariums.
Yeah, and that's a good one that we could probably write to, or maybe find out Sequest's Facebook page or something,
Yeah,
or
there's
social
a
media.
Facebook page, Stops. I think it's called Stop Sequest, so you can check that out, and they can keep you informed on that.
All right, yeah, there are many ways to take action here, and I think
And
Messy Vegans is saying what we were talking about. I think the biggest problem is that we just can't identify with fish, opposed to animals like pigs, cows.
yeah, and it's because they live in a different element from us. They don't have expressions like we do, so it can be hard for people to relate to them. But again, instead of looking at the differences, we need to consider our amazing similarities, and realize that just like us, they're sentient beings who have interests and concerns and can suffer and want to have a strong will to live and should be allowed to live free and free of human harm.
Yeah, and what we can learn from them. That's the main thing. I mean, like a big thing too. What can we learn from these these beautiful beings that are so different from us?
Yes, so a great example is how they cooperate. For example, there are fishes who will go hunting with not only other fishes but other species. They'll go hunting with octopuses or eels. Um, they'll, like, for example, there are groupers who will go with moray eels. They'll communicate with the eel in a certain way, indicate, and the eel will realize that they want them to go hunting in the coral with them because the grouper is too big to get into the coral, and the eel can get into it, but the grouper knows where the prey is, so they indicate where the prey is, and the eel will either go in and catch it or chase it out for the grouper to catch. And so it's a wonderful example of cooperation, interspecies cooperation. And they also go fishing with octopuses. That's another one. So, just how they cooperate, it's a great, great thing.
Wow, so there's a lot that we can be learning here about fishes and how they are examples of how to live, and with each other and in harmony with our planet.
Yes. Yeah. And
And
another
so,
way people can get involved, which I would love for them to do, is again these youth fishing rodeos that they're having all across the country. If you look online, you can probably find one near you, and just go there. It can be very non-confrontational. You don't have to get in a confrontation with everyone. It probably wouldn't be a good thing to get in a confrontation because it's usually parents with children, and just hand out the coloring books, hand out fact sheets. Very, very, and people have been very welcoming, very receptive to it. And usually we hand out a little pack of crayons with it too. So people really enjoy that. And then they go home and hopefully read it and see the message in there that fishing is cruel, and reconsider and hopefully not go again.
right. Yeah, I haven't handed out things at rodeos, but I've been I mean, at the, not fish rodeos, but at other rodeos. But yes, we can do something and peacefully. We don't have to get in arguments. And Messy Vegans is saying, I do like that video from a while back showing the octopus punching the fish who wasn't cooperating. Hopefully, not too hard.
Yeah.
Little fish. But that's funny. So there's a lot going on that we might not know about, that we don't know about, but I can speak for myself to learn here. And so yeah, it looks like we're coming to the end of our hour. And so if you have any other questions, please let me know. But also don't forget to go to www.all-creatures.org to check out the hundreds of thousands of pages of free resources updated daily, 7 days a week without a break, or sign up for our weekly newsletter. And be sure to search vegan churches on our site to find vegan faith based resources near you. And if you know one that's not on our list, then please reach out to our executive director, Tams, at all-creatures.org. So,
It is a terrific newsletter. Yeah. I really appreciate it.
yes, and also make sure you go to fishfield.org.
Please do. And if you have any questions, please send them to info@fishfield.org, and we'll be more than happy to try to answer them or send you to someone else who can.
Yes, and there's a lot to learn. Messy Vegans is saying, thank you for this brilliant conversation. Much appreciated.
Thank you very
Yes, this
much.
has been wonderful. So, well, we'll all get our get to studying our fish facts so we can be really good spokespeople for the fishes.
Yes, and February, Lent is coming up, and people turn to eating fish, which is actually when I became vegetarian, was for Lent many, many years ago when I was 15. That was how I first started. But it's a great time to introduce people to vegan seafood. And they're actually, I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but there was Fish Free February, which was a Facebook page. Maybe they have a website too. I don't know. And they have recipes every day, and you know promotional posts, and just encouraging people to if they want seafood, opt for vegan seafood.
Well, I'm glad you reminded me of that because this is the time now to start putting it in, planting those seeds that fishes feel that they deserve freedom and they deserve a peaceful life, just like the rest of us. So everyone start to, check out the social media. You said on Facebook, Mary,
Yes, yes,
and
yeah.
then we'll get
And,
our facts and repost it.
yes, and I know Veganuary, they had a good section on seafood also. Veganuary, that's another great one. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, this has been very informative, and I'm very inspired by your work, Mary, and I'm so thankful for everything you're doing.
Well, thank you, Marakita, very much, and thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you for your interest and your concern and your compassion. We so appreciate it very much.
Yes, we do. And everyone watching the replay, thanks for watching. And we'll all take action for our beautiful beings in the sea, our brothers and sisters.
Yes, please do what you can. They so desperately need all the help we can give them.
Yes. Thanks, April and Messy Vegan and Dennis and who else was here? Nicole and JJ and Claudia. What y'all are wonderful. Well, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.